Something I've been thinking about a lot in the last few months is the topic of video game subscriptions. One of the reasons is because I am now subscribed to two of them, Origin Access for PC and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for Xbox One and PC. The reason I subscribed to Origin Access was because I wanted to play Battlefield games on the PC again. After a console detour, I just wanted to go back to keyboard and mouse. The service starts at $30 US a year for the basic version of Origin Access, which is cheaper than buying Battlefield 1 and more recently 5, and then paying for a PlayStation Plus subscription to play online. So even for one game, the service ended up being a good deal for me. That's not even counting all the other games I have access to now. The reason I have Xbox Game Pass is because I bought an Xbox One, which came with a free trial, and I used the $1 upgrade offer to get the Ultimate thing. Seemed like a good deal, especially since it's both Xbox and PC games. And there's several games for both platforms that I wanted to play. I still haven't bought even one Xbox One game yet, and I'm someone who likes physical copies. In fact, I'm the guy who complains about the lack of manuals in physical copies, and cars for that matter too. So are video game subscriptions the future? Well, no. Game subscriptions are the present, actually. It doesn't matter if it's Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, EA, Ubisoft, or whatever. There's no shortage of companies that'll take your money and give you access to a library of games. When people talk about subscriptions being the future, I think what they're actually implying is that subscription services will somehow replace game ownership. And I think a lot of us probably don't like the idea of that, me included. But the fact is that if you've bought a game digitally, you already did something similar. You purchased a license that grants you permission to play a game, but instead of continuous payments for a library of games, it's a one-time fee which gives you access to one game for a long-term, yet unspecified time period. So the forfeit of game ownership is something most of us have already succumbed to, at least partly, whether we're ignorant of the fact or not. But facts usually don't play much of a part on whether something is or isn't well received by consumers. It's about emotions and feelings. I feel like I own something I bought on Steam, and that feels better than losing access to a game collection because I missed a payment, or I just don't want to, have another annual or monthly fee. And now we could go on about value for money and start comparing game purchase costs versus subscriptions, but I think that's an entirely incorrect way of looking at it. It's always this or that, my way or the highway, good or bad. There's more than just two extremes, and you don't have to pick a side because there is no side. In fact, I believe that the future of gaming subscriptions will be just like it is with other forms of entertainment like music and movies. Physical and digital purchases will coexist with subscription services. Just like video games, they are forms of entertainment that can be enjoyed casually or on a more enthusiast level and anything in between. It's not about replacing one business model with another, but more about covering more demographics. In fact, it's something we can see with the game selection, inclusion, and exclusion of DLC, and pricing for a lot of these services. With Origin Access Basic, it's $30 US a year. You don't get DLC, and you don't get to play games that just came out. I mainly want to play newish Battlefield games online a few hours a week. I really enjoy doing that, but I don't need to play the newest one right away, and neither do I care about DLC. And I get to try out some other games I felt curious about, but never wanted to spend any money on. And EA gets a few dollars it wouldn't have seen otherwise. On the flip side, there's EA's own Origin Access Premier, or Ubisoft's Uplay Plus, which have annual cost equivalent of 2 or 3 brand new games. But they include DLC, first day access, and often other benefits. So people who would probably buy that many games from those companies over a span of the year probably would get a lot of value out of those services. That in turn also creates customer loyalty and also a steady and predictable income. But not everyone is like that with every company. I'm not going to spend my money on Uplay Plus because I'm not that interested in that many of their games. So I'd rather buy whatever game I want from them every few years. And people are like that with all kinds of things. If you take my scenario that I just described and even just reversed it, you're describing a situation that thousands of people are in. Replace the name with others like Nintendo and who knows what other company, and there's another scenario. Because of this, it's in the company's best interest to offer many different ways for a customer to spend money. So I think for many people, subscriptions will be something people will have in addition to buying individual games. Also, look at Steam and how successful they are. That's not going away all of a sudden. As long as your computer isn't a massive turd, you probably have bought at least one thing on there, most likely during one of Steam's many sales. Subscription services also don't work well for smaller developers. With subscription services, that monthly or annual cost is split up between a lot of entities. When you purchase a game, that isn't the case. I mean, there's obviously a certain percentage that goes to Steam, the publisher, and all that, but you know what I mean. Some other reasons I can come up with are things like limited editions. Anime game enthusiasts like myself are very much into obtaining those LEs. Just to flip things around, there's also hugely popular games like GTA that have massive launches. It wouldn't be in Rockstar's interest to have those profits disappear due to subscriptions. That being said, industry shifts usually don't happen with some casualties along the way. Just like digital distribution put an end to most physical PC releases, subscription services will most likely make certain things less common, or even introduce some things that aren't going to go over well. I'm sure what's going to happen one day will be subscription exclusives. EA, who else, is already experimenting with this idea. I spotted this on FIFA 20. I really hope it doesn't get worse than that, but I'm not optimistic. Physical media might become even less prominent as it is. Microsoft revealed their diskless Xbox One S earlier this year, which was thankfully met with a generally negative response. I may not own a physical Xbox One game yet, but I do use it as a Blu-ray player. In fact, I bought it so I can use it as a 4K Blu-ray player when I eventually do own a 4K display. Let's bring up some other details. Firstly, with consoles, EA is pushing its subscription services not only on PC, but also Xbox One and PS4 with EA Access. Now, the pricing may seem okay, but you need an Xbox Live Gold or PlayStation Plus subscription to play online still. At this point, PlayStation Now and Xbox Game Pass look like a better option because there's more diversity, and in terms of cost management, it's simpler since it's just one company you're paying, not two. Since I mentioned PlayStation Now, I did the 7-day trial thing, just so I would have some experience with cloud gaming. They do have a selection of downloadable games, but I wanted to experience what the streaming thing was going to be like. I am surprised. There is a bit of input delay. I tried Street Fighter 4, and it wasn't actually that bad, just casually playing around. With something like a turn-based RPG, it doesn't really matter too much if there is input lag. In fact, even Red Dead Redemption performed okay. There's a bit of stuttering over my Wi-Fi connection, but I guess that's just how that is. It's very clearly a video you're looking at though. The compression artifacts are totally obvious. It's so visible around the text, and actually anything that's detailed for that matter. The dynamic range looks off as well. It's like there's a lot of dark and low light details that get eliminated by the compression. Once the tech gets better, I'm sure services like these might pick up traction. The fact that you can play games on devices that aren't powerful is a thought a lot of people like. Hence probably why there's a push for such services to exist in the first place. I guess we'll see what happens over the next several years. But right now, at least with PlayStation Now, it's not something I'd even consider as an option. Well, I mean, the downloadable games are okay, of course, but definitely not the streaming. It just doesn't look good enough, and I don't want any input lag. So yeah, that's my opinion on video game subscription services and how things will go on from here. There's a lot of speculation involved with my theory, so let me know what you think the future holds in that department. I'd also like to see some comments from people who do subscribe to one or more services, and if you find it a good value. Like always, thank you to everyone who supports the channel. If you want to support the YSN channel yourself, you can either get some merch from the merch store, or you can check out the Patreon page. I'm trying to do some more video updates on Patreon, so you can see how things go behind the scenes. So hopefully you guys like that. All the links to everything are in the description for you to check out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.